and welcome. My name is Steve Nobel, and today I'm speaking with August Worley and Izzy Zarillo on the ascension process, healing with physio-acoustic sound and light. August Worley is an ancient Egyptian design engineer of the Pyradym and other healing technologies who will discuss future medicine as frequency medicine and how it relates to the healing technologies of the ancient Egyptians. And Izzy Zarillo is the marketing angel for the project, and we will also be speaking with her, I think. So the website is pyradym.com. There will be a link going out with this podcast. So hi, both of you.
Hello. Oh, hi, Steve.
So maybe, Izzy, let's start with you perhaps. Can you just say something about your involvement? And because you contacted me and like Reagan, this is something important to get out there. So why is it so important to get out there?
Well, I've been listening to your meditations for a couple of years now, at least, and I know that you're, involved in the Ascension program, and trying to enable as many people as possible to ride that Ascension wave that we're currently on. And I was searching for ancient Egyptian healing technologies, and I came across the Pyradym. It's an instrument, and I was just really just overwhelmed when I heard it. I had a lot of feelings in my body that sort of spontaneously came up when I listened to it and heard it, and it's a vibration as well. So I delved more into it, and I contacted August, and I asked him if I could help him get the word out. So I'm just the angel who's responsible for helping him. But I've learned a lot from August as well. And I just think it's time, it's time now that we start looking at some of the ancient Egyptian technologies that were being used at that time to heal. They didn't have the medicines that we have now. They had different medicine. Their medicine involved healing with sound and with probably with light as well, from what we know, and with crystals. So this instrument actually melds the three of those things together and uses the vibration. So for me, I'm just excited to be part of it.
Well, thank you for introducing us. And let me ask August. So you have invented this amazing thing, and can you say how it came into being?
Well, it's been a gradual process, and well, there's been a series of stages associated with its creation, and it started out when I was very young in a way, because I was prompted to become a musician to explore why I felt the way I did when experiencing music. And I was one of those kids that if he liked a song would play it over and 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 over again, just because I liked the way that it made me feel. And which led to the exploration as a musician and a composer. I majored in electrical engineering and minored in music composition, because I thought an intellectual exploration of dissecting music to try to understand this premise would be of value, but it isn't. Eventually you deconstruct a piece of music to a point where it doesn't really explain itself as to why you like it.
Right.
But it did, and also as a bassist, I came up playing bass and playing upright bass as well. And so I early on had an understanding playing the upright bass that you could pluck a string on the bass and you would feel it in your body, because you've got this big piece of plywood that's acoustically coupling to your physical structure. And you start noticing things when you're on a scale or something. It's like, that's pretty weird. I feel this G string in my left knee, but when I play an F sharp, I feel it in my right big toe or whatever. And I'm also an ice hockey player. And so, it's like, what am I feeling in my left knee? It's like, oh yeah, that's right. I got hit with a puck last night. So there must be something associated with that physically, sonically, and vibrationally. So it just sort of, perpetuated that. Flash forward to working for Dr. Robert Moog, the inventor of the Moog synthesizer, as his principal engineer. So being in the business of creating electronic musical instruments was a big part of it. but I will relate the story that kind of perpetuated that aspect of it. When I first moved to Asheville, I went to a singing bowl recital. And it turned out to be a Tibetan monk who actually makes singing bowls. And he's in a long lineage of singing bowl masters that make the singing bowls. And he talked about the prayers of intention and the focus of each hammer stroke. These are the old brass singing bowls. And apparently when a singing bowl master is going to transition, he gifts all of his singing bowls to all his apprentices, and then they pass that along. So the singing bowls that he had about a dozen of them all around him. And they all look like hell because some of them are hundreds of years old, literally. And but he proceeded to play these singing bowls, and he had them grouped in such a way where you could play one of them and it would resonate the two associated next to that. And he'd play this one over here. And so he wove this tapestry of this very etheric sound throughout the room. And it was a very transcendental experience. But on the way out of the gig, there was a little table with a stack of postcards on it. And I picked one of them up and I said, I'm going to take this back to the office and share this with Bob, because, this guy's, he's one of us, he's creating these instruments that are, exploring the possibilities of sound. And eventually I showed it to him and I explained to him the same story that I just told you. And, he looked at the card with the Tibetan monk on it and handed it back to me. And he said, oh, but then I handed it to him and it just sort of fell out of my mouth. And I always, I always invite people, did you ever just have something fall out of your mouth and you kind of go, who said that? This was one of those moments because I handed this card to Bob and I said, did you ever think about us making an electronic singing bowl? And he looked at the card and he handed it back to me and he said, you should do that. And then he walked out of the office and it was like, oh, okay. He really kind of took me aback with that because it's Bob Moog, for crying out loud. So, it's almost like an edict, Mm. So, and then after I left the company about a year or so later, I did have an experience where I learned how to channel through a wonderful channeling master by the name of Almarilla Bailey. And on the very first meditation that she did as the part of the initiation to this class, this order, if you will, I went out on this somewhere, accompanied by a woman that was actually playing a singing bowl at this event. And so I met this being, for lack of a better word, and it was one of those encounters where it's almost like you've met a childhood friend that you haven't seen in a very long time, but had a very deep connection with. And in this meditative state, we were communicating without using words. We were using, the being was using shape and color and tones. And I was just thinking my responses. And so we had this conversation, which seemed to last for hours. But in reality, I think we were only out for about 20 minutes. Mm. But this being just kept changing shape and color. And it went through, it was a sphere, then it was an egg shape, and then it was a cube. It went through all the platonic solids, but it kept coming back to this 52-degree pyramid geometry. And, that was very interesting, and changing color. So when I came back from the meditation, we all shared our experiences, and I shared that one, and Almarilla said, that's a very unique experience and you should hold on to that. Mm. So the other portion of it was the home I was sharing here in the mountains of Asheville. I was home alone with just the cat. And I started hearing this low tone, this rolling tone. It sounded like Tibetan monks singing, or a very, very large singing bowl. And I couldn't figure out where it was coming from. So I'm going around the house and, it's July, So, you know, the furnace isn't running. I checked the refrigerator isn't running. And I stuck my head out the sliding glass door, expecting there was a guy out there with a leaf blower or something. And no, there's nobody out there. It's coming from inside the house. And, you know, I shared this this experience, and the cat's just laying there, you know, completely oblivious as they are. You know, it's just, to them, it's just another day at the office, right?
Right.
And I spoke to my wife and I said, have you ever heard this sort of thing around the house before? And she said, no. And I heard it for 3 days in a row with no logical explanation of where that was coming from. And so on the third day, I kind of had this epiphany that it's like, oh, this is for me. And it kind of called back the idea of an electronic singing bowl and exploring sound, because as a singer and as a musician, I was also doing toning with my meditations and with yoga and things like that. So most of the great, you know, innovations usually come from asking a relatively simple question. I would like to explore the possibilities of sound, but not in a musical context. So what would I use? You know, again, the idea of an electronic singing bowl came to mind. It's like an electronic singing bowl. Okay, well, what would an electronic singing bowl look like? Again, another very simple question. But the answer to that is, well, it doesn't have to look like a singing bowl. It can look like anything. And then that's when these, you know, the combination of the ideas of this being that I met that seemed to prefer a pyramidal shape of a crystalline nature, and being able to change color and communicated with a low series of tones that was very connective. You know, that was the other idea as well. I wanted the instrument to have the same connective properties that musicians, you know, are able to integrate with their instrument. It becomes a mode of expression when you're a musician. And I thought that not being able to avail yourself to that. I mean, singing bowls are great, but nobody really kind of has a deep connective expression with a tuning fork, for example. Didgeridoos are a little bit different, obviously. Gongs are kind of their own little animal. Singing bowls are great. I own several of them myself. But now we're getting into the complement of being able to work with this thing, because singing bowls have a limitation because they only do one tone. So I know people that own dozens of them, of all different frequencies, and it's great. And then I'm thinking, well, what about all the notes in between the cracks of the piano key? What about all of those notes? Because we're talking about resonance here. We're not talking about making music.
Yeah.
You know, music is sound, but sound is not necessarily music. It depends on the degree of content as much as it depends on the degree of intent. What are you trying to do with that? Because when you start exploring the concept of healing sound, well, what does that mean?
Yeah. Do you have one to hand, August?
Pyradym or singing bowl?
The Pyradym.
Yeah, I can swing the camera around.
Yeah, let's have a look.
And there we go.
Oh, look at it. Amazing.
Yeah. And well, since I'll give you the little walkthrough, there's a little red button here. It's based on the chakra system. I wanted a tuning platform that was universal, but not related to music. And so every time you hit the red button, and I don't know if you can see that because of the glare. Let's get in a little.
Can you turn your light off, August?
It's coming from the window, I'm afraid.
Oh,
Yeah, but you can see there's it's the first chakra, and every time you hit the red button, it moves up to the next chakra. So I'll press it again, and it moves up to orange, and there's the corresponding orange. Sorry for the washout.
Yeah,
I should have closed that blind.
Yeah.
And so again, every time, and well, let's see what we can get from sound. Here's the volume knob, and I don't know if you can hear that because it is a fairly low frequency tone.
Yeah.
But now we're at yellow, again, washed out, sorry. And then green, now you can start to see the green.
Yeah.
And the color actually pulsates with the sound that you're creating. And we'll go to blue, and there's the blue and the indigo, and finally the violet, and then the 8th chakra, which is, it goes into mute. It's the sound of silence. You can't have sound without silence.
Yeah.
So again, and there's a timer here, so it can walk through each of these chakras in 1 to 13-minute intervals by controlling this knob. You put it into timed mode. It will, again, walk through them perpetually. I run it all night. I just place it on top of my bed and it resonates the whole bed. You can actually, can you actually hear that, Izzy?
I could hear it a little bit. It's not very loud though.
Yeah, probably not. But you can create, maybe because I'm using a higher frequency here. But
my cat came over as soon as you turned it on.
Yeah. Well, we're going to let everyone have an experience of a meditation with the sound of the machine. So I guess everybody will have an experience of that.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, August, how does this connect to the energy of Reiki? Because you did mention when I got the email that it somehow connects with the energy of Reiki. So there's a chakra system. What about Reiki?
Well, I am a Reiki master, and so there are a set of Reiki symbols that you use with when you're working with the energy of the human body, or doing Reiki on anything, food, for example. And so there are symbols that are embedded right in all the circuit boards, the Reiki symbols, and they're considered sacred symbols. And one of them is a chukare, and actually. And this is one of the bare printed circuit boards.
Oh, right.
But if you look at the center of it, where am I? There I am. See if I can catch it with the light. There's a chukare.
Oh, yeah.
Chukare in Reiki means put the power here. So that chukare is on that circuit board, and the circuit board is located at the phi ratio point of the structure of the pyramid, which is the focal point of the energetic collecting system of the pyramid, sort of at where the king's chamber is on the Great Pyramid.
Wow.
So there's I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, so if I had one of these machines, what are the various uses what can I do with it? How would I use it? I think you mentioned using it all night, just playing it low tone in the bedroom, food. Is there a vast range of things we could do with this machine?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I will go ahead and correct you on the noun there, because I was actually corrected by my crew, because I was calling it a device, and they said no, it's an instrument.
Okay.
And they put it in the context of a piano. A piano is a mechanical apparatus. It's got, levers and strings and wires and all that sort of stuff, and fulcrums. It's basically a machine, but it's the intention of the person that sits at that machine that makes it an instrument. It becomes a mode of expression. And like an instrument, you can play Bach or boogie woogie on the same piano. So it's your intention that makes it an instrument. So
okay.
So and again, that sort of fulfills the function of what I wanted to achieve. I wanted something that people who weren't musicians could own and experience and connect with in the same way that musicians connect with their instruments. I mean, B.B. King has a guitar named Lucille. I mean, it's a very personal mode of expression for him. Most musicians have a name for their particular instruments.
Yeah.
So,
I take the point. Yeah, instrument. So coming back to the question, August, what's the variety of uses for it, the instrument?
Oh, okay. I work with it as a Reiki practitioner to help move the energy throughout the body much more easily. I place it on the head of my massage table. I have an extender, so I extend the massage table, and the client lies on the table with their head, with the Pyradym behind their head. And so this central point source of very low frequency information that you can control just resonates throughout the table, because it does work with Physio-Acoustic technology as well. It's got a tactile driver in it, and a tactile driver is different than a speaker. Speakers are designed to move this way, and they move air. Tactile drivers are actually mounted downward facing, and they're designed to move mass. They use them in home theater systems. They use them in aircraft simulators and things of that nature. So we're taking the effective component of music and converting it into a vibrational energy, and that you can also control, because the sound that you're creating is also translated into a vibrational component. So again, it's just like a double bass. You pluck a string on a double bass or on a guitar, acoustic guitar, and you'll hear the vibration of the string, but you'll also feel it through the body of the instrument.
Cool.
If I might add too, some practitioners are using them to facilitate a meditative state as well. So if you have trouble meditating, or you're, you can't reach that. So it's a theta state, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, August, but I believe that you reach a theta state much more easily using Pyradym than if you were to take many years to learn how to meditate and to practice meditation, because it really is a practice. But for me, that was one thing. I mean, right now I only have the CD, but I'm trying to get an instrument, but that's coming later. I've been told by my guides. But anyway, the CD itself, if you just put that on, it's a 7-minute chakra tone up. It's pretty similar to what August is going to demonstrate for us afterwards. It induces a much deeper state of meditation, but you can also put an intention into. So if you're a practitioner and you want to use your Pyradym to induce a certain state or to bring a certain concept into your awareness, you could speak that, or have that as your intention, and then use the Pyradym to create that intention and to manifest that in the body. Does that make sense?
Brilliant, thank you. Yeah, and Izzy, let me ask you as well while we're on it. So these machines are everywhere. They're in the UK, Europe, America. Do you want to say something about the spread of it?
Yeah, actually, the one in England, we're actually a gentleman from Sheffield wanted to. He has a non-profit, and he's going to be putting his Pyradym in a center for addicts, so people who are addicted to certain substances, because he's using all kinds of music therapy, but he wanted to add Pyradym, because we actually have a lot of white papers on Pyradym and the efficacy of it. So he was very interested in that and managed to get funding for that. So that's really exciting. So we're really looking forward to hearing some feedback on that in the future.
Brilliant, thank you. So August, could you say something about this meditation track we're going to be hearing and what people should do as they go through it?
It's I call it the 7-minute tone up. It basically walks through a example sound of the instrument. There's 3 tone generators that you're going to be listening to. 2 of them are tuned very close to unison. That creates a beat frequency. A lot of people are aware of, beat frequency meditative, programs and things of that nature. The cool thing about Pyradym in real time is that you can change the rate of the beat frequency. So you can pick up a beat frequency and speed it up if you want to energize and raise it a level of awareness, or you can slow it down very, very, very slow to slip into theta and delta brain states, which allow a higher level of information and a greater degree of connectivity with the universe. It does get you out of your own way, which I believe is a vitally important aspect of healing. Being able to get out of your own way to address your situations, but also to connect to the universe, to your point of origin, your source.
Yeah. Should people wear headphones for this?
Yes, I would recommend doing it if you have a nice set of speakers, because a lot of the Pyradym information is low frequency information, not too low. If you go too low in frequency, then it starts turning into clicks. It's almost like when you're able to see the frames of a movie going past. It gets kind of segmented like that. So yes, I would just breathe, allow the sound to guide you where it will. Pay attention to where you experience it, because there's three basic components, and I always look at Pyradym sound therapy session as a form of prayer. If you think about, there's three components of prayer. One is thought. The other is the emotional aspect, and that generates a feeling. Feeling and emotion are not quite the same thing. But being able to shift into a prayer mode where you are open and communicating with the universe at the highest level is part of the process of prayer. Sound, and particularly in the form of music, again, I touched on it earlier. Why do you like a song is a question I always like to ask in lecture. It's a very innocuous question. Do you ever wonder why you like a song? And the short, simple answer is that there's something that resonates with you in a very specific way that you connect with for whatever reason that is. That's one of the more powerful things of music. With Pyradym, we're able to use those basic components of music, but in a more organized way, more coherent way, to achieve an altered state. So it's a form of specialized music therapy, but there's a joy that is connected with when you like a song. And I really think that there's an integral part of sound therapy in creating joy to raise that quality of energy that you're experiencing in life. And then I think it's something that's sadly missing in traditional medicine. But also the state of joy does tend to lead you more into the second question I like to ask is, where does healing come from? Again, as a Reiki master, Reiki 101, rule number one is that you can't make anybody heal. Ask any MD, any surgeons. I've talked to surgeons about that. I always throw that out when I do these lectures in front of a group of MDs. Who here has ever had a patient or a situation where you went right by the numbers, you did a perfect surgery, and the person didn't respond or they died, and for no fault of your own. Did you ever wonder why that may have happened? And then, the answer is, well, did you ever ask them if they wanted to be healed? Which seems like a pretty big leap. But when you consider that most traditional medical associations, that's one of their primary rules, is that they'll do whatever they can to save the life, maintain the life. Well, nobody ever bothers to ask whether the guy wants to stick around. Because Reiki 101 rule number 2 is that sometimes death is a healing. This situation is temporary. We're not supposed to, be here forever. Our spirit, our energy, our soul, our chi, all those energetic qualities, those are infinite. But our time here in this, on this planet, in this realm, is finite.
Yeah.
I was going to mention something else about the healing modalities that you can use in conjunction with this. And, I'm a healing angel facilitator. I do Reiki and I'm a channel. So I use a lot of things. I have a lot of things in my tool bag, but I really feel Pyradym is one of those just all-in-one type of healing tools that you can use, and nobody really has to have any special training for it. I mean, you can learn how to use it as you go, which is really a wonderful concept, because anybody can do it or tap into the healing. And then it's really, you can structure it or structure your sessions as you want to. So for me as a healer, that's a really nice way to use Pyradym as well. So I just wanted to mention, it's one of those things right now with COVID, where we are all kind of at the mercy of this Western medicine coming up with ways to heal ourselves. But I think a lot of people are waking up to the fact that, we have to take a certain amount of, we have to use some alternative healing methodologies as well. Like Western medicine can't always cure us of things. And so we do have to look outside the box. And so if you ever have anything happen to you, you'll know that, if you go to Western medicine, I'm not dissing it completely. Of course, we need it. But if you go there, you might get a pill, or you might get a shot, or you might get a bandage or whatever. But, the ancient Egyptians obviously believed that there was another way to heal the body. And so, and also to heal not just the body, but the mind and all the bodies, the energy bodies. So, because healing starts from way out in the chakra, way out in the energetic field. It doesn't start in the body, it starts way outside the body. And then healing happens from within. So I believe that healing is just about as much to do with intention as it is to do with the so-called cure. It's not really a cure, it's an intention.
Yeah. Well, look, guys, thank you. I think it's time to load it up and let people experience it. So I guess we get people to sit back, lay back, headphones on, and just experience. There will be, I believe, a video possibly with this. We're going to try and do the video, but definitely the sound. So thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
Okay.
Okay.
The window so you can see the capstone.